Welcome, everybody. I was just saying that, one thing that really inspired me to put this workshop together, obviously, it's you guys and the students that we work with. And also, it's my personal experience as a child learning to play the piano. And this is why it has inspired me to put this together. We have done a workshop like this before with my husband, Matt, and we did it over at in person before, but I just thought we could do the online thing so everybody would be able to come in and, from all over the place to join us and to learn about this. And, I have done an extensive research on teaching children and just teaching in general. That's the term pedagogy means, is to learn how to teach. And when you're teaching somebody, it's about people relationship. And that has a lot to do understanding people psychology as well. So in today's workshop, I'm going to be tapping into that area as well. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and get started. Okay. So as I said, this topic, it's somewhat personal to me because I studied the piano since I was a little girl. And it's very funny because I really wish that my mom had this, that she attended this workshop when I was a little girl. But of course, it's not possible. But now that I have gone through the experience, and just really excited to share this with you guys. And, this workshop is going to give you insights and tips and strategies on how to help your child so you can support your child's musical journey. And probably if your child is studying piano now, or your child is about to start learning to play the piano, you haven't signed your child up for music or anything like that, I think this workshop is really going to give you a very good insight so that you can get your child started in the right way from the beginning. And probably, if your child has been playing the piano for a while, what your child is going through with the frustrations and all that in the musical journey, I have gone through all of that. Having frustration, anger, and crying and all that stuff. I've already, I've gone through that when I was a little girl. And learning to play the piano does not need the frustration, the anger, and the crying. It can actually be very joyful and enjoyable. It really has a lot to do your perspective and the mindset, and I'm going to be talking about that as well. So in this workshop, I'm going to be sharing with you this practical solutions to assist your child at home with their practice so that they will thrive and feeling rewarded through their musical journey. And so as I mentioned, the workshop will be about an hour long, and I like it to be interactive. So feel free to raise your hand and ask questions. And you can put it in the chat. I can read your questions in the chat box. Just be involved. That would be great. So before we get into all the research that I have done, I want to share with you a little bit about who I am and what I do. My name is Shireen Mustafa. I'm the owner of a music school located in Tempe, Arizona called Music Lessons Arizona. I obtained a bachelor's degree in music therapy, worked with children with disabilities. My internship was actually at the Stony Brook Medical Center in New York. SUNY Stony Brook, I was working with inpatient psychiatric unit, and I was also working with the geriatrics. So I've done some interesting experiences there doing music therapy. And I received my master's degree in collaborative piano performance because my heart has always been performing and playing piano, things like that. And I have been teaching piano and doing research in pedagogy for the last 22 years. I am an active piano competition adjudicator as well as examiner for local annual piano examination. I've been doing that for the last 7 years. And I serve as the former president of the East Valley Music Teachers Association, currently serving as the third vice president of the Arizona State Music Teachers Association. And I actively mentor to teach piano teachers on how to teach. So through the curriculum that I have developed, I have successfully helped hundreds of students winning in piano competitions from local all the way to international level. And those students have also earned prestigious performance awards. The mission of Music Lessons Arizona isn't to help your child to become the best pianist in the world, but is to transform your child's life through piano education so that they become a better version of themselves with greater happiness, purpose, and fulfillment in life. So with that being said, till this day, I continue to study and better myself. I follow renowned educators, piano pedagogues. I attend conferences. I read books. I listen to podcasts so that I can continue and serve more people in our music community, not just in Tempe, Arizona, but I want it to be like the whole world. And so I am half Egyptian, half Taiwanese. Taiwan is a very small island country in Asia. My parents met in Japan. Very interesting story, but I'm not going to go in there too deep. But I'm half Egyptian, half Taiwanese. Both my parents are musically inclined, but never were taught formally in music. They just did not have the opportunity to do that. At the age of 6, my father was misdiagnosed by a doctor, and unfortunately he lost his life because of the misdiagnosis. Throughout my entire life, my mother never remarried. She basically raised myself and my brother all by herself. And at the time we were living in Egypt, the misdiagnosis happened in Egypt in early 1990s. And so my mom's like, well, I don't need to live in Egypt anymore. It's not my country. So I got to pack up and grab my kids. We're going back to Taiwan. So that's really when I started to get exposed to music. They have school, we have general music classes, we sing, we do body movements, things like that. And around age of 8, 9, that's when I told my mom, like, Mom, I want to learn to play the piano. And she's like, okay, sure, yeah. Just kind of carries through, because I was a child. She didn't know whether I was seriously interested about this or not. But then I kept going back to it. I said, Mom, my friend can play the piano and it's really cool. I want to do that. And my mom's like, oh, okay, well, I guess Shireen is really serious about this. And then she had a very serious talk with me. Mom is working really hard to make ends meet. And it's going to cost me money to sign you up for music. And I have to buy an acoustic piano for you. This is a lot of investment from me. So I need to know that you are 100% committed to do this and that you're going to do this for a very long time. Basically, like you're not going to quit. And I said, I promise, Mom, I love music so much because I was singing all the time. And I wanted to, I played the piano a little bit. We had like a 61 key keyboard that was passed down to us after my father passed. So he had that keyboard. He used to, play a little bit, like make something up on the keyboard, and I would go and play there. And so we had this keyboard. She saw that I keep playing it and then trying to, uh, remember the tunes that I learned at school, these children songs like London Bridge is falling down, and I would just try and pluck out those notes on the piano by myself without a teacher helping me. And so that's when my piano journey started. So just like many parents, they didn't know how to find the right piano teacher. She didn't know how to do research. There was no Google, there's no review for you to read, nothing. So she just asked a friend, a neighbor, hey, my daughter is interested in piano playing. Where can I find a teacher? Oh yeah, there's this neighborhood lady that teaches piano. So she became my first piano teacher, which unfortunately I had to call her the unqualified teacher. She was just a neighborhood teacher who knew how to play the piano. It was after many years later, my mom told me that, oh yeah, she was actually a percussionist. What? So why would you sign me up with a percussionist to learn how to play the piano? And so this is mistake number one that my mom made, is that she took me to study piano with somebody who wasn't even a pianist. And so I have established bad habits through learning from this teacher. Except the rhythm, I was pretty good at the rhythm because, it was percussion and stuff. She's really good at that. But my hand position was horrible and I wasn't playing the right notes and I couldn't read very well. So I stayed with her for like about 8 months. Then my mom felt like I wasn't really making that much improvement through this with this teacher. And then my mom found a teacher that was right across from my elementary school. So all she was thinking really is convenience. and that right after school I can just go over there across the street and just study piano with this teacher. So this second teacher, luckily, she happened to be the qualified one. And this qualified teacher, she actually got a degree from Russia. And so she was studied under a Russian piano teacher. And so when I had my first meeting with her, at the time I was already like around nine-ish, something like that, 9 or 10. And I remember when I first met her, she asked me to play something because she wanted to assess where my level was at after playing 8 months, learning piano for 8 months. And I played this piece. I don't even remember what it was, but she basically was in shock. Like I still remember her face, like, oh, like, how can you be playing piano like this? That kind of shocked face was more like, it's unbelievable to me that after 8 months of piano playing, you still play like this. So it was a judgment, and of course I felt a little embarrassed, like, well, I don't know, this is what I was taught. And my mom, she was busy making ends meet. She worked a lot. My piano practice has always been 100% by myself, handling everything myself. My teacher taught me, I go home and practice on my own. We didn't have any videos at the time. There's nothing. There's just this notebook where the teacher would write, you need to do this, you need to do that. I try to follow the notebook, but I was a child. It's until I became an adult and done a lot of research in brain function and cognitive development in children and everything, Then I realized that as a child, we're just, as a child, they're just not fully developed yet. This is why parents have to supervise, and children cannot handle tasks on their own. So with my second teacher, while she was a really good teacher, she was able to fix a lot of problems for me. But I found that she was also very frustrated with me because I established this bad routine, this bad habit from playing the piano. I tried to fix it and I thought I was fixing it, but I actually wasn't really fixing it. And so when she gets frustrated, I feel like I was a bad student and I would get sad and I didn't know what to do. I didn't really have any support from any other adults except from the teacher. And the teacher, she was like a recent graduate. She just got back from Russia not too long ago. So she was like in her mid 20s, maybe late 20s, something like that. And I don't think that the university teaches students, piano students, like understanding human psychology, they don't really touch into that topic. And so while she was giving me good advice like on how to play, but she wasn't really understanding children, So anyway, long story short, I was frustrated and then it actually hurt my confidence. And I see all of my classmates that were able to play the piano so well. And I look at myself. I mean, I've been playing piano for like a year and I play nowhere where my friends are at. And, I lost confidence and I started to have this negative talk to myself. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. And despite all that, because I'm half Egyptian, I don't look like Taiwanese. And kids are mean, And so they were all making fun of me like, oh, your hair is curly. Why is it curly? My hair is straight, or my skin color is darker, things like that. So it was all that combination. It really hurt me as a child, and it affected me how I do in school. And it basically affected me my whole life, right? As a child. And then once you become older and you understand and you try to improve yourself, then things got better, basically. You just kind of just ignore all those naysayers and then you just kind of just thrive on your own. So then when I get to middle school, that's when I met my teacher. And this teacher was teaching like how to structure your schedule. And I thought that was a great idea. So I spoke to her independently, so privately. I said, hi, teacher, you were talking about creating a schedule and I really, think it's going to help me. Could you help me, establish a schedule, a daily routine for me? And she said, yeah, absolutely. So she sat down with me and she created this routine for me. And so, of course, I had a specific time that I do piano. She asked me first, like, hey, what do? You have homework, and then what other things do you do? Oh, I play piano. Oh, great. So let's put piano in this time slot. Great. So what I did was I took her advice. I had this daily routine that I followed, and until this day, I continue to apply her teaching. Without the routine, I wouldn't be able to have like a consistent improvement in my piano playing, although like I was still trying to figure things out on my own. But with all this being said, the point is that your child will really thrive if you are also being involved at home. And because learning to play a musical instrument, it's very hard. It's not just hard for kids, but it's hard for adults. and everybody, we all need support. You know, I always compare piano playing kind of like exercising, like you go to the gym. You have to have a game plan, number one. Like, okay, I'm doing I'm going to be working with this on this machine. How many sets am I doing and what is the rep? Right? So you have to have a game plan. And when you go to the gym by yourself, you're just not that motivated. You don't really want to go. You're like, oh, I want to take a rain check today. Don't want to do this. But then if you have a partner, you have an accountability. So for example, like for me, I have a personal trainer that I see between 2 to 3 times a week, depending on the week. And without her, I don't think I will go to the gym at all. So this is why like piano playing, it really requires a support, especially for a child. So with that being said, I'd like to go to the next slide. Here is a picture called the triangle of support that is being established by Dr. Shinichi Suzuki. He was a very famous music educator from Japan. He created this method called the Suzuki method that is being widely used in the entire world. The string players, especially, they use Suzuki method a lot. For piano, I see some people use Suzuki method, which is a good method. In my teaching, I also apply Suzuki's method as well in my teaching. So in this picture, you'll see that the child is in the center of the triangle. And the child is being supported by the parent and also being supported by the teacher. So the teacher serves as someone who is inspiring and teaching new materials and implement exactly the way of how to teach, how to play the piano. The child must be willing and be receptive to the teacher's teaching. And what the parent's role serves is that your role is to go home and apply what the teacher have taught the student and sit with the child, and you practice with the child exactly the materials of what was being taught. And of course, the child needs to be willing and to be receptive of this parent. Now, I know we have mom and dad, mostly, right? We have two parents, but we must have one designated parent or legal guardian to help this child with piano practice. Because if you rotate between mom and dad or like multiple people, then this child isn't going to fully understand. And also, like, if you have like different people attending the sessions, what the teacher is teaching, then you're going to get confused. So one designated parent is highly encouraged, working with the teacher. So when all three sides are working together, the student will definitely thrive. Okay? And so if any side weakens, for example, if the parent, designated parent isn't available, maybe like there's like multiple people bringing the kid in, or the parents is just not supporting, then the child's progress will slow down and it will cause frustration, just like what happened to me. No matter the type of teacher I get, this fantastic Russian teacher, I still did not have the support from my family because I was, my mom was working a lot. I had to be independent. But my mom at the time, she did not get educated in that area. She didn't know because the teacher was young and she didn't know either. She just thought that the kids can handle everything and understand what the adults are saying. The truth is, cognitively, the kids have not been fully developed yet. So that's why I wasn't able to play very well and up to my teacher standard. And then if you hire a bad teacher, then of course the child's not going to be able to make progress, and it will also cause frustration, because what a good teacher does is to give you all the tools to help the student accelerate in their performance. And the foundation, if your child is still in the beginner stage, the foundation is so important, because you're laying out the foundation so that you can build other things on top of it. If your foundation is poor, you won't have the technique to play difficult pieces. It's going to limit your ability to play whatever you want musically. So that's why foundation is so important. For beginners to learn the piano, I know a lot of parents, they probably just want their child to try out. Like if you're in like a trying out zone, I would recommend just get an app, let your child try first. Because if you were going to hire a teacher, I would say like people like me, or people who are educated that have a degree in music, we are putting 100% commitment in your child's education. We also want to receive that back from you, So anyway, so that's that. So, the parents and the teachers' collaboration is going to ensure the consistency, motivation, and the emotional support that the child is going through. So, for an example, this Olympian has a team of people working for him to help him to be attending the Olympics and to become like the greatest athlete in the world. So an Olympian might have a coach, a professional coach, and they might have like a nutritionist, or they might have like a nutritionist and maybe like a dietitian or something, and then they have like a personal trainer to make sure that their body is at the most optimal state, and then they will become an Olympian. I've never seen any Olympians out there that have made it on their own. They all had a group of people, professionals, to support. So it's the same thing with your child learning to play the piano. Parents, teacher must support this child to make this triangle very secure. So I often see unrealistic expectations from parents because they don't understand this triangle of support. And usually this the unrealistic expectations usually comes from parents who were not educated in this area, or parents who kind of like my mom, so she was just not educated. She didn't know. She just said like, oh, my child is interested, I want to sign her up, right? So this is what happens. Here's a picture of the unrealistic and the realistic expectations in piano learning, or any types of musical instrumental learning. So the parents' expectation is all at like 100%. They think the productivity of the student is what they're working on is at 100%, but realistically is very, very low. So the first photograph right here is talking about the rapid progress, no practice. So basically it's a very sporadic practice, right? So the child comes home and says, I I learned the piano. I just came back from piano school. Great, yeah. So you want to go practice? Sure, yeah, practice a little bit. So what the child does is just to practice, maybe like a minute or two. Yeah, I learned this, I learned that. Okay, I'm done. All right. So when a child does that, their productivity, they probably will only retain about 20% of what they have learned. Okay. When they come back in a week and then they haven't really worked on the other 80% of the stuff. And then the second one is this is if the child were practicing the piano independently. Because the teacher will give you like 10 things to work on. The child will probably only remember one thing to work on just because of, because they're a child. They're children. They're still growing. Mentally they haven't fully developed yet. And the third thing is that if this child, or maybe some parents are very enthusiastic, they're like, oh, my child loves this, my child loves that, and my child needs to do this and that. Oh, I just want to expose everything to my child. And so you over schedule your child's daily activities. So when that happens, then your child is going to be like a mediocre for everything that they're doing, and they're not going to be like they're not going to learn how to master something, right? So I remember when I was a child, I only did two activities. One was piano, and then I used to like to play ball, like basketball and stuff, but I keep hurting my fingers. So I was banned from playing any ball. So I switched my sports into swimming. So I was in a swimming team, growing up. So I was swimming and practiced piano. So these two were the only things that I did, on a yearly basis. So this picture shows you that consistency really matters, because the habit formation, it really works like a compound interest. In 2009, there was a study that was being done by Dr. Philippa Lawley and her colleagues at the University College of London. They examined habit formation over 12 weeks. And the participants were asked to adopt a new habit, for example, drinking water when they first wake up in the morning, a glass of water, or do like a daily exercises, something like that. And so the interesting finding is that on average, these kind of behavior, they become automatic at 66 days. So meaning you have to consistently doing this habit, drinking water every morning, the first thing you wake up in the morning, a glass of water, you have to consistently doing it for 66 days. Then it will become like a habit. It will form it, like become automatic. But so it depends on the type of habit that you are trying to form, because there are some habits that are more complex than some habits forming is more simpler. So the average range is really from like 18 days to 254 days. I would say for piano playing, learning a musical instrument, the habit formation would probably take between 3 months to 1 year. So it's really important for the child to get into this journey, that they have a very consistent practice routine so that it will become a habit. It becomes a lifestyle. And not like I practice today a little bit and then I wait for another 10 days, I play the piano a little bit. It's not gonna work. And so here's the next picture. Okay, so these pictures I got, they're from the Atomic Habit. So I just took a snapshot of these. But this picture is really interesting because it talks about for you to just become 1% better every single day. So you're just a little bit better than yesterday. In 1 year, you're going to be 37 times better than when you first started. But then, let's say if you stop practicing piano for the entire year, what happens is that you become 1% worse every day, and in 1 year, you become 1,500 times worse than when you first stopped playing the piano, or any kind of skill set that you are trying to acquire. So this is a really interesting picture, and it kind of motivated me, like, okay, I have to stay sharp with all the skill set that I have. I play the piano, so I have to consistently play the piano. I do these kind of workshop, and I have to refine my workshop, and do it more often so I can keep myself sharp, things like that. But this can tell you that if you don't work on it, then you definitely are going to lose it. You don't use it, then you lose it. So, some parents, they might ask, like, well, what happens if we go on vacation and there isn't a piano available for my child to practice, right? So, I can tell you that some of our students here at the school, they actually bring their digital piano with them. And they go to, we had this student went to the beach over at Mexico, like I think Rocky Point or something. And they rented this beach house, and they brought their digital piano with them. And then they placed the digital piano right in front of the beach. And so they took a picture of the student too. They said, "Hi, Miss Shireen, hello from Mexico, send me a picture." And then the child, the student, was like practicing on her digital piano facing the ocean. How nice is that? I would like that. I have no view here. This is my piano. I have no view over here. And so basically what these parents have done is that they created an expectation, is that before you go to the beach, before we start our day, you have to practice the piano, go through, what my team and I have taught you. So you get it done. This is your job. Afterwards, you can do whatever you want. So you have to set like some kind of schedule here. So, basically, when the parents are fully committed, then you're definitely going to find a way to continue your child's piano practice anywhere. When I first graduated with my, collaborative piano performance degree, I was doing a lot of performances. Collaborative piano means I'm a pianist and I collaborate with singers. I am a pianist, I collaborate with instrumentalists. And so I graduated like almost 15 years ago. And so during the first 5 years, I traveled a lot between California and Arizona. So I performed a lot, and I would fly to just depending on which part of California. I drove a lot to Southern California, and then I would fly to Northern California, just doing a bunch of gigs. And so what I have done, is I didn't bring my digital piano because number one, I didn't have a digital piano. But what I did was I did mental practice in my head looking at the score, and I would just practice on my lap. That's how I practice when I am traveling and when the piano isn't available for access. And so you're just going to find like creative ways to, exercise your brain, just practice piano this way, So now I like to dive into children's behavior and cognitive development. So sometimes we just wonder why children behave certain way. It's just because they're children and their minds haven't really been developed. So I have done a lot of research, and I put them into like very small bullet points, and just kind of like summarizing this for you guys. So the first thing is there was a research that's being done by the Center on the Developing Child in Harvard University. This research was done in 2016. They basically have said that the prefrontal cortex of a child is just not fully developed, and it's not really developed until you turn like around mid 20s, 25, 26, something like that. And so this is why your child, they struggle with emotional regulation. You know, like when things get hard, they cry, they don't want to do it, they just want to quit. And they can't initiate, doing things, what maybe, I don't know, like as an adult, you know what your responsibility is. But children, once they go home, they just want to relax. They don't want to do anything. They just can't get the motivation to do it. They can't, have long attention span, and they can't, self-monitor basically. And they don't know how to problem solve. So this is why, as a parent, you step in to help your child with this. So what you do is you help your child establish a consistent practice routine. And so what you can do is you set the time. So you say, after school every day, if they come home at like 4, then they have their snack time, and they can watch a little cartoon for half an hour. And then at 4:30, right on the dot, it's piano time. They need to practice the piano. They need structure. A lot of psychologists, they actually have mentioned that children thrive in having good structure. And I'm going to share other slides that talk about this too. And you can also create like a visual cue for your child, like, okay, right now we're doing this and doing that, and now it's piano. So your child knows that it is time to do piano. And this has to be very consistent. And even though sometimes we don't feel like practicing the piano, I get that. But it's important that at 4:30, okay, that's the time your child needs to sit at the piano, do a little bit. Even like for a 3-minute, 2-3 minutes, there is this rule that I read somewhere saying that when you don't feel like doing something, if you just get started and just be there and do it for about 2 to 3 minutes, the momentum start to kick in, and then the child will be practicing a little bit longer than 2 to 3 minutes. But this motivation thing, it really comes and goes. I think it's natural for human to not be motivated, honestly, but so this is why it's important not to completely rely on motivation to do something, because there are days I just don't feel like doing anything. So then what are you going to do? Just going to veg out the entire day, wasting your time? You can't do that. You can't live your life like that. So yeah. And then the next point is about providing step-by-step guidance through the scaffolded learning strategy. So scaffolded learning means it's a gradual removal of the parental support, because we still want to teach our children to be independent. So you can start letting go just a little bit once you know that your child is doing very well in certain thing, and you're going to just start letting go so that the child can learn the independency. This is one of the questions that I get from parents, is like, well, I don't want to help my child because then the child is just going to be relying on me all the time. And, I say like, well, you have to start letting it go a little bit, because you cannot do everything for your child, obviously. So you just need to have a very structured way to just start letting it go a little bit so that the child can be independent. So some of the things that you can do is start by guiding your child through practice, then gradually let them take the lead, and you can follow the Google Doc. If you guys are currently our student at Music Lessons Arizona, then you can go through the Google Doc of the checklist of what the students are supposed to be doing. You can also create a checklist based on your observation of the class, knowing your child and knowing what is difficult for your child. You can start having the child work on what is the most difficult, and then just go somewhere else. So all right, and then it's important to give very clear and simple instructions that children understand. Maybe say something like, okay, point your fingers. We're going to do this motion 5 times. 1, 2, 3, so on. And so that they can, understand what you're doing. So they just really need to be guided. Okay. And then you also want to encourage self-monitoring. So you can ask questions like, hey, give yourself a ranking. Did you focus today? Yes, great. And in this piece, where else can we improve on? Maybe the student will say, oh yeah, I made a mistake over here. So, help your child communicate back, just try to ask questions so that the child knows, oh, this is where we're having trouble. So maybe we can spend a little bit more time over here. So why don't we practice here? Things like that. And the last thing in this bullet point is to use the external cues to improve the focus. So you can set a timer. For some children, they have hard time focusing, especially in this world. Everything, it's all instant gratified. Piano, it's a delayed gratification. It's very difficult. So for children, it would be great to just set a timer. Okay, we're going to focus for the next 5 minutes. After we focus, then we can take a 1-minute break or something like that. Okay, and you can also introduce some fun visual aids. Maybe just put a little sticker on the sections where your child has trouble with. So maybe here's the difficult part. Maybe we can put a little sticker there, and that's a difficult part that we're having trouble. We can put a sticker over there also. And then the last thing is make sure that you have a proper instrument that your child is learning on. Your child must feel your child must enjoy playing this instrument. Some of our parents, when I was playing on that 61 key piano, it was enjoyable to me. But then, it was after I got my piano upgraded to an acoustic piano, then that's when I really, really enjoyed playing it, because the sound is so different and it's beautiful, it's very full. And it's acoustic, so the sound wave is just all over the place in the house, and I was able to control and to make good music. And playing on a good instrument, it's also very important for your child's development. If you were asking me 15, 20 years ago if you should be getting a digital piano, I would say no. But because of technology is so good now, I do think that digital piano is a good place to start, but eventually you should want to upgrade to an acoustic piano, because after all, they are learning piano here at our school. We're running short on time. How are you guys doing? I wanted to see if you guys have any questions. I do have several slides left, but can you give me a little, ranking? Like, are you okay? Do you want me to keep talking? Do you guys have questions? Oh, hey, Junie, I see your little thumb there. Yeah, thank you. And those who I don't see the faces to, I wasn't sure if you have your thumb up or not. But if you're okay, then I'm gonna continue with my slides. And it's very likely we're gonna go past 12 o'clock if you don't mind. Yeah, so here's the next slide. So the other research I've done is through the American Psychological Association. So this research was done in 2018 on children's attention span. Did you know that your children's attention span is really short? Okay, age 5 to 7 is about like 5 to 15 minutes, 8 to 10 is about 20 to 30 minutes, 11 to 13 probably about 30 minutes to 45 minutes, and then when they're older, then of course the attention span get longer. But you know, one thing is really interesting is because we also work with adult music students. I personally teach one adult piano student. I can't teach very much right now because there's so many things going on. But you know, I have one adult student, and one of the one sec here. Okay, yeah, great. I just saw a chat, so I just wanted to take a look at it. So one thing this adult student told me, because I was telling him the importance of practice. And a lot of people think practicing, it just means that you're sitting at the piano and just noodling around. But it actually means that you're sitting there and working on the sections that you're having the most trouble with. So that it's kind of like problem solving. And so I explained that to this adult student, and he said, oh gosh, then I can only do this for about 15 minutes. So his attention span is only 15 minutes. And I go, great, well, just start with 15 minutes. I guarantee you, if you stick with this on a daily basis, you do 15 minutes, you do this for the entire week, when you come back and see me, you're going to make progress. Because all we want is that you're making progress on a daily basis. And then, bam, he came back a week later, he played his piece so well. So, you know, you just have to look at your child's attention span and gauge how long can your child actually focus and make sure that the practice is very effective and efficient. Because if you're practicing piano, say for 30 minutes, but then you're, you know, mom and the child are like chatting or fighting for like 20 minutes, so the productivity is only for 10 minutes, then that's not really effective, right? So yeah, so basically based on this, you know, children have difficulty staying engaged with the task and require patience, tasks that require patience and repetition. So if you don't know this yet, piano playing or learning any musical instrument, it requires a lot of patience and a lot of repetition. So you just have to gauge your child's attention span. Okay, so here is what you can do to help your child with your child's practice at home according to their attention span. Okay, so number one, you have to keep practice sessions manageable. So if your child can only focus for 5 minutes, and the beginner classes that I have at my school, we require at least 15 minutes of practice daily, then you'll have to spread out your practice in 3 different times to fit in 15 minutes. So you do 5 minutes, maybe, I don't know, after the sack, and then 5 minutes before dinner, 5 minutes before you go to bed, you know, something like that. Okay, and the second one is to use the Pomodoro technique. So my middle school teacher did not teach the Pomodoro technique, but the Pomodoro technique is something that I also implement in my life as well. I try to finish important tasks. So I basically, you know, categorize my tasks, the similar things, I put them together, and I try to finish them in 25 minutes, and I force myself to take 5-minute break. And I do a total of 4 sessions of that. So that means I would be working like a total of 100 minutes, and then I would take like a 30-minute break, longer break after that. So for children, You can, have your child practice, between 5 and 10 minutes, and then you take like a 1 minute break. And then just let them move around and or do some fun activity just for a little bit and then go back to the work. It's important to take breaks. Then your mind will be just sharper. You will stay sharper. And the last thing is to provide immediate positive reinforcement. It's so important that, when kids are learning, it's important that you keep telling them, hey, you did great. That's really awesome. I'm so proud of you, And so, for students who are here at our school, one thing I like to do is I always verbally tell them, hey, you did awesome, great job. And we clap hands for our students and we do high fives. Sometimes I give out stickers. These are all like motivation to help them feel good about this. Okay. So speaking of the motivation, we're going to go to the next slides. Please stop me if you want to talk, okay? So the next slide is talking about the theory called self-determination. This is by Edward Deci and Richard Ryan. They're both very famous psychologists. They talked about children's motivation. The intrinsic motivation isn't very strong in them. So they're more motivated when you're able to provide some external awards, So like maybe you give them like an extra playtime or like a sticker, the kids, they love stickers, and stickers are very cheap. Just give them one sticker. And it works very well. So this research, so they both actually wrote this book, self-determination theory. That was first published in 1985, but then they revised it in 2000. So the intrinsic motivation is like a personal satisfaction, right? So children don't really know that yet. So that's why, creating like external rewards will help. And so what you can do at home is to, like I said, like giving stickers and extra playtimes, so and so, and always celebrate children's small goals. Okay, so just say, you worked so hard today. I am so proud of you. Something like that. And they're going to feel good about it. Like, oh yeah, I did really well today. And they're going to have a good day. And we want to continue and keep our children's minds to be in a positive mindset and not a negative mindset, because it's going to, affect all across the board in their life. And I was like that when I was younger because I did not receive the support. Don't get me wrong, my mom is the best mom in the world, and she did everything she could to raise me and my brother. But we were just at a disadvantage at that time. And it was a very, very tough time for my family. But, like, if my father was alive, and we had this healthy family dynamic, mom is able to help me with piano, I feel like my life would have been very different. My childhood life would be very different. And probably as I become an adult, will probably be very different too. But, I'm a very, self-driven, and I'm a competitive person. So the older I get, the more competitive I become. And so anyway, so that's just me. All right, and then yes, so the second point is making practice more fun and not making it a chore. So this is from Jean Piaget. He is the y'all know Piaget. He's the psychologist that wrote the book. Later on, I have the slides. The next slide is actually Jean Piaget. So he actually said that children learn best through play. And a lot of research that I've done, I'm really into studying Montessori teaching method. And I'm trying to apply that in my studio as well, like in the teaching method. I like to mix everything. I am being influenced by Dr. Suzuki and Montessori, and I'm studying these psychology books. I'm trying to implement everything really is to help children to grow, to become a better version of themselves through piano playing. And so anyway, Jean Piaget said children learn better when they are through play. So we cannot treat it like a chore. So you could maybe come up with like a fun challenge. Say, hey, can you play this piece with your eyes closed? Or maybe say, oh, you know what? Can we make this music scary? Can you make it sound scary? Or can you make it sound like the dinosaurs are stomping on the piano? So make them play like really, really loud. Like use all these imaginary things because children are full of imaginations. So it's kind of a fun way to get them engaged. And, one thing I have asked my students to do every now and then is that they can draw a picture of this music. What I usually do, because our time together is limited, is I usually say, I'm going to play this music. Can you tell me how this sounds like? And then they will tell me, oh yeah, this sounds kind of spooky over here. But children love to draw. Let them listen to music and let them draw how this music sounds like so that they can tell you a story through the music. And this is part of learning to play the piano, because piano is an art. It's a form of an art, right? And it's actually storytelling. When you hear a pianist play a piece of music, it's storytelling. It's not really it's not just playing the notes. That's what I mean. So the next thing on the bullet point is help your child set and celebrate small goals. So I think we talked about that already, but this will also help your child just to start developing the intrinsic motivation, just to help them motivate, to celebrate small goals, things like that. So the next slide is about Jean Piaget. So he wrote the book called Theory of Cognitive Development back in 1952. And so he said that children thrive on clear routine, step-by-step instruction and external accountability. So we talked about the external accountability already. And he said that abstract thinking, like self-reflection or goal setting, it's not really, like they can't really do that yet. Okay. So what you can do is to, sit with your child during the practice. So you have a very clear, so that your child knows like step-by-step guidelines, like what to do, because they can't really do that yet. And maybe you can say, hey, let's try this section one more time. The second thing is, just break up your practice into small sections, something that is achievable, even just playing one note. You played this note correctly. That's great. Let's try 2 notes. Oh, you did great. And just add from there, just building it up from there. And, using the visual and reward based tracking system. So you could try and create a practice chart. So if you guys are, if you know Canva is a good place where you can create different practice charts. Is very easy, and they have these templates available for you to use as well. So you can do that. And so always, giving positive reinforcement. Wow, you did great. You practiced so hard. I'm so proud of you. Things like that. So the next thing is one of my favorite psychologists. Her name is Dr. Carol Dweck. She is a professor at Stanford University. She wrote a book called Mindset back in 2006, and I have implemented a lot of her teaching in my teaching in my school. And she said that children, they struggle to identify and correct mistakes independently. So that was me when I was a child learning to play the piano on my own. Without feedback, they will be, they may repeat mistakes instead of refining their skills. That's me. And then parental encouragement helps shift their mindset from I can't do this to I'm learning, right? So again, that was me too. So because I wasn't able to do it, I didn't feel good about myself. And then it kind of just, mentally, emotionally, I wasn't very healthy. And we don't want that for children. Okay, so here are the things that you can do to help. Is you are going to be praising their effort, but not the results. So instead of saying, you are so smart, you say, you worked so hard, and I am so proud of your hard work. Instead of saying, well, I can't think of any other examples because I have been, praising effort for so long, and I can't remember how to praise people based on results, which is not what we want. So anyway, so just make sure that you praise the effort so that they understand it's because I worked hard, that's why I get this reward, rather than I am smart and my IQ is high, that's why I am able to do this. So there's the growth mindset and the fixed mindset. So we want our children to have a growth mindset. And the second point is to teach children to listen and self-evaluate. So one of the things that you can do is to ask questions. Hey, what do you think you could improve in this section? Right? So maybe record their playing and have them listen back so they can self-evaluate a little bit. But of course, you have to guide your child on how to answer those questions, because you have the child listen and you're like, so what do you think? The child's not going to tell you anything. They're just going to go like, I don't know. And then the last point is turning mistakes into learning opportunities. So you can be kind of fun, just very lighthearted. Just say, hey, that was a very interesting way of playing this. Maybe how about we try this way instead? Or you can say something like, if a student missed a note or something, to go like, oops, that note took a little vacation there. So can we try and bring that back? Or, something like that. Or, one thing I do with the students, maybe like if the students start to play with their fingers flat, very flat, like sausages, I say, oh, I see sausages dancing on my piano. And they usually laugh. They enjoy these kind of things, and just say, hey, why don't we try and play with our fingers pointed a little more like a ballerina, pointing their toes when they're dancing, things like that. Then children will be like, oh yeah, okay, I understand, and I'll try to do that. So the next section is about overscheduling your child's daily activities. So these are just brief research that I compiled, and basically what happens when you are when your child have an overpacked schedule, it's going to be increasing their stress and anxiety. And what happens is that they may lead to chronic stress when they grow up. And so we just have to be very careful with this. And according to the research through the American Psychological Association in 2018, they said 42% of children, they reported feeling stressed because of overscheduling. And then 28% out of those 42, they have anxiety disorder because of it. Oh, we definitely don't want that for our children. And the next thing is less creativity and independent thinking. So what happens is that when children do not have free time, everything is too structured, then they become less creative. And in this world, we need creativity. So children with more free play develop better problem solving skills, and the unstructured time actually allows creative thinking and self-directed learning and deep focus to develop. So this reminds me of very famous musicians, like Beethoven, Eric Satie, or Mendelssohn. These famous classical composers, they actually take several walks during the day. When they write music, they spend some time writing their music because they need inspiration. When you create something great, you cannot have a packed schedule where you go from this, and that. You need to have time to just let your brain relax. That's when your creativity will come. So again, piano playing is a form of an art. So that's why in art, you do need creativity. This isn't like, okay, you need to play this loud, so you gotta play loud. But it's loud, but then what kind of loud is it? You're telling a story. So it's not like you're memorizing a script. So it's very important to not overpack the schedule for children. And the third thing is the Stanford University did a research. They talked about children usually with three or more extracurricular activities. They actually show poor skill retention than those only focusing 1 to 2 main interests. The cognitive overload prevents deep learning and leading to superficial engagement rather than mastery. So just like the picture that I have shown you before, when somebody is overscheduled with a bunch of activities, you are only able to learn just, like you're good at it, but you're not great at it. And then the NSF, that is the National Sleep Foundation, did a research in 2021 saying children from age between 6 to 12, they need like between 9 to 12 hours of sleep. But right now, 60% of children between 8 and 12 years old are not getting enough sleep. So when you have sleep deprivation, what happens is that your memory is not good. You don't have good memory retention, and your attention span becomes shorter, and you get moodier too. You're not happy, you'll cry, you're not sure what's going on, and it's so harmful to children. Poor kids. I was shocked to read all this. And then the last one, Harvard University did a research in 2020. They talk about it actually hurts like a family bonding as well. So children who spend more time in extracurricular activities or at school, if they spend too much time at school than with family, show weaker emotional resilience, and quality family interactions actually improve the motivation, emotional regulation, and overall life satisfaction. So it's very important to also set aside and have like a family bonding. And so here are like what I would do if you are currently overscheduling your child and or considering shifting things around a little bit. So the best thing to do is, if you were just having your child do 1 to 2 structured activities per year, like me, I did a sport, and I did swimming, and I did piano, and it was actually a lot already because I was competitive in both areas. So I swim a lot. I think I was swimming like about 3 hours a day. And then I was practicing piano alone, and I was practicing like, when I was older, then I was practicing like about 1.5 hours to 2 hours. But when I was younger, I wasn't putting that much time. Um, and then the daily free time for imaginative play. Just find time where they can just fully relax and just do nothing. I watched a TED talk by this person. I forgot who this person said, but excuse me, I forgot who this person was. But this person have said that actually, when you are bored, like when you're not doing anything, that's when your brain is like very, very active and thinking about a lot of like creative things. And when you are able to become a creative person, that's when you are able to be a good problem solver. In this world, a successful person has really good problem solving skills. They're solving problems that we all have in this world. And so this is how they are able to generate a lot of income and stuff, because they're able to solve problems for people. So creativity is extremely important. And then, provide unstructured music exploration. So for all of our students, I do require them to listen to music on a daily basis. Ideally, it's 3 hours. This is based on Dr. Suzuki's teaching. Okay. And I want the students to be able to listen to 3 hours of music. I listen to music all the time. I listen to music when I put makeup on. I listen to music when I do whatever kind of chore that I'm doing at the house. You can just play music in the background. That's all you need. So it doesn't mean that you have to sit there and listen to the music. Just play music in the background, because music is a language. And you want your child and yourself to understand that language. Otherwise, you can't really express that music. And you can work on like improvisation. You can just have your child play something on the piano, just make something up. Just be creative and just play for fun. And it's important to have good sleep, and limited structured activity. So we said limit to like 1 to 2, and encourage daily downtime. We talked about that. And balance work and play. So when they're working, focus on the work, and when they need to play, if they want to play, just let them play. It's leisure. And then monitor the stress levels, and the parents will just need to make sure that we manage that. Adjust the commitments when needed. You have to see how your child is doing, because they don't know. They're just basically doing things based on what you tell them to do right now, if they are like 12 years and younger. Okay. All right, so that's all the slides that I have, and I went over 20 minutes. I apologize. That's what happens, I just have so many things I wanted to share. I just went over with the time. But now we're going to the Q&A. I wasn't sure how you guys felt about what I have shared. You guys have any questions? Or anything you'd like to share?
I especially appreciate the whole last 30 minutes. Just fantastic, really helpful. Thank you so much for doing this today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Laura. I appreciate you jumping in. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. So I'm Eric, Elon's dad, and we
Yeah.
appreciate the advices, and it's exactly what we are facing with 2 kids. And then, hey, thank you for the advices. That's great.
Yeah, thank you so much, Narek. I appreciate you jumping in. So, looks like we have a question from Teresa. So, how do you navigate whether your kid competes? Okay, so competition, that's a great question. Competition does not work for everybody. Um, But through my teaching, my curriculum, when the parents and the teacher and the student are all willing and working together, then your child, I can guarantee that your child would be able to learn to win in competitions one way or another. because the local competitions, they're fairly simple. And through the accurate way of learning, your child will be able to win in the competition, no matter what kind of learning format that they are in. So say, for students who are enrolled in like doing private sessions, private coaching sessions, and that they are basically at like the highest level program that we offer, then basically the expectations are much higher than if the students were in like the other programs that we have in the school. So right now we have like 3 different programs. And so, the elite program on top, then there will be higher expectation from the parents and the student. But the student needs to also be willing to do this, and that they're able to handle it. Then they will be able to, accelerate in their playing. But the program that I have created, I try to create it in a way that is very comfortable for all the students to be able to learn. And if the child is competitive, then we can consider, putting them in the higher level program. But, I think I try to create this curriculum that is going to be like lifestyle friendly. But no matter what, if you study the piano through my curriculum and you follow that exactly, your child would become one of the best players in town and be able to win in competitions, if that makes sense. And I have a question here from Jen. So, when do you recommend a child moves from a group lessons to one-on-one lesson? So for this, basically, I can tell you that the class format, the one-on-one teaching and the group teaching, this is not really the difference, like whatever that the students are learning in the group session and versus one-on-one, the curriculums are exactly the same. The only difference is that if you were doing the one-on-one, there will be higher expectations coming from the teacher to the parent and to the child. So if your child is not really competitive, and you just want to learn to play the piano as like a lifestyle thing, and you want your child to establish good foundation and good learning routine, practice routine, and be able to have the skill set to be able to play anything that they want, you can continue to stay in the class, because the class learning does not compromise the teaching. What is compromising is that the parents are not helping at home, because my team and myself, we all put in 100% commitment to help your child, and your child just needs to be on board. It seems overall right now that your child is the students that are in our school, they seem like they're receptive, but it just depending on how are you helping your child at home. So if that makes sense. And so hopefully that answers your question, Jen. So how can parents help the kid if they cannot play the piano? I'm so glad that you asked this question, David. I would say all of the parents that I work with, they have a little bit of, general music education from public school. And you don't need to be a pianist to be able to help your child with piano practice. Some of our best players in school, at our school, their parents are not pianists. What they did is to observe the teaching and then implement that teaching on their child at home. So that's really the biggest difference. Okay, so I hope that answers your question.
Can I add one thing?
Go ahead.
Shane, I think what's really helpful too is that you all include a lot of tools to help, even if you don't know how to play piano. There's the videos, there's links, I mean, these types of sessions. So I feel like there's a lot of support put in place for those that don't even have that background.
Right, yeah. So at my school, we provide Google Doc, and in the Google Doc, there is videos, like a reminder video, and there is the audio track that students can practice along. This workshop is really to educate you guys as a parent that when you're assisting your child with practice, they really need a lot of support. If you're expecting them to do it on their own, they really will not be able to do it. They're gonna fall short. And again, I try to create the curriculum in a way that is comfortable. It's doable. It is really doable. You just need to have a consistent practice. The consistency is the key, right? And just be a little bit better every day. And that's really all you need. Okay, any other questions or comments? One thing I want to bring this up is I have met a lot of parents that they fight with their child during their practice, and I don't want that. And I know you don't want to fight with your child either, but I must say that you when you teach, like helping your child practice, they are basically modeling you, right? You are their role model. The way you handle things is how they are learning to handle things. The way you problem solve is how they are problem solving. And I understand that it's difficult for a parent to help the child. So this is why we actually have a practice session program that we created last year for parents to just send their child to us so that we can practice with them instead. But this will only work if you are able to come in on like more regularly. If you are helping your child a little bit at home, that's great. So maybe like the other days, then you can come over to our practice session. Our practice session is available 6 days a week. The only day that we're not open is on Friday. So yeah, and the other thing is that children, some parents, they want their child to get exposed to music, but then the child, they personally don't really want to do it. I would recommend, if your child is not interested, just don't let them do music. I understand there's a lot of benefit in child, with their brain development and stuff with music. We have a lot of doctors and a lot of educated people that study, educated people, they come to our school, they want to enroll their child to do music, and that's great. They can get exposed to it, but if your child is not interested, it's really much better just to have the child do something else that they're interested in rather than keeping them do music. Or, because it's not going to be enjoyable for the child, and then the parent is frustrated that the child isn't practicing, and the teacher is also not fair to the teacher as well, just because the child's not enjoying it, then it's kind of just, it's difficult to teach a child who does not enjoy it, because they basically will not be putting any time and effort into playing the piano. Okay, so is there anything else? I know we went to like an hour and a half now, but yeah, I really appreciate all of you for being here. And let me just share this with you real quick. I found a couple of pictures on social media I wanted to share with you. So this is a picture. It's a quote of the night. It says, "Popcorn is prepared in the same pot, in the same heat, in the same oil, and yet the kernels do not pop at the same time." So the idea is do not compare your child to others, and their turn to pop is coming. So just focus on your child's growth based on your child's personal development. After all, they are children, and even for adults too, like for adults to learn the piano or learn a musical instrument, just always aim for, to be better than yesterday. Just be a little bit better than yesterday. And then I also found this and I found it pretty interesting. I don't have kids. I don't have kids, but all the kids at my school, they're my kids. But this is very interesting. It says how you react when you're angry, frustrated, or afraid, that's what your kids are going to pick up. And how, they will pick up how you handle mistakes and failures. They will pick up how you treat strangers, how you apologize, how you solve problems, how you take care of yourself, how you handle differences, how you listen to people, how you treat people, and how you care for your environment, things like that. So, every time I go to my school and every time I have employees and stuff. I have a team of people working at my school. I always look at myself as a leader, and I am a leader, and I have to make sure that I set the perfect example for them. And so for you as parents, I'm sure you do the same thing too. You do the best you can. But we basically all influence each other, Like I am also doing this talk. I'm also influencing you guys, and I hope you find this very, insightful and helpful. So yeah, thank you all for being here. Our website is www.musiclessonsarizona.com, and if you would like to reach out to me directly, my email is shireen@musiclessonsarizona.com. So again, I appreciate all of you for being here. And if you guys are considering signing up your child to do music, I hope this gives you a good insight. It's never too late to start playing a musical instrument. Just make sure that your child is ready for it mentally, and that you guys are also have enough time to set aside to help your child with your practice at home. All right, thank you all for being here. Thank you guys. Thank you, Banchana. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Shireen.
Thank
Do you have
you.
a do you have a second to chat?
Yeah.
So we wanted to let you know that Aurelia is sick. She has strep throat.
Oh no.
So I think we're gonna have to reschedule the lesson on Monday.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. Thank you for letting me know that.